Let's talk about our hopes and dreams. Beyond the reach it seems. Let's talk. Confess I live in hell. I failed to fall in scheme. Maybe we can find a pathway forward or a clue. So we may together be a symbiotic harmony where I can talk to you. You can talk to me. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk, let's talk, let's talk.
Welcome to the February program of the Talk Vermont. And this special program is accenting Black History Month. And I am pleased to welcome friends of mine from New York City, Harlem, New York City, representing. So welcome again to the February production of the Talk Vermont. Let me first say that when one hears the word the talk, it usually refers to important conversations Black people have with their loved ones about how to survive in a racially hostile environment, especially when confronted with the police. We call this program The Talk because we feel that it's important for Black folk and people of color, especially here in the state, to raise their concerns about important conversations we should have with each other and that we should have with a wider citizenry of Vermont regarding important issues that affect people of color in this state. Issues of interest, as well as issues of concern. And for Black History Month, I wanted to personally invite some friends of mine from Harlem, New York, Shades of Truth Theater. They have produced a theatrical production called Mothers of the Movement. It was written and directed by Michael Green, who you may see on your screen, along with a few of the actors. And let's have them introduce themselves. And some of you may not have seen the production itself. There was a bit of confusion. I thought it was going to begin at 5:25, but it actually has aired beforehand. And if people wish to see the production, see a recording of the production, there is a YouTube channel that you can access to get the full production. So we're going to ask questions of the actors as well as the writer and director Michael Green of Mothers of the Movement. And so, Michael, could you and the actors that are present introduce yourself, the roles you play, and also what you may do when you're not involved with Shades of Truth? Starting with you, Michael.
Okay, I'm Michael Green. Hello, everyone. I'm the founder, producer, and director of Shades of Truth Theater. I wrote or curated Mothers of the Movement. I say curate because they use a lot of the actual words of the women portrayed in the piece. The piece has adapted itself over the years to address various situations and subject matter. When we first did 19, there were 13 women represented. And boy, I tell you, that was something. We had everyone from Ida B. Wells and Mary Church Terrell, and we had Coretta Scott King, and the list goes on and on. And so in this reiteration, we have Queen Mother Moore, Ella Baker, Patty McCabe, Mamie T. And I'm not sure where that interference is coming from, Dr. Thomas. Is there someone needs to mute their camera?
Yes. Trying to make the sound, I guess, more clear.
Yeah.
So keep going. We can hear
Okay.
you.
So yes.
And Mom's Mabley, you didn't mention Mom's Mabley. She's
I hadn't got there yet. I was trying
okay.
to see where all the interference was coming from. I was going to get there to Mom's Mabley. We're very proud to add Mom's Mabley to the mix. And sometimes she gets lost when there's talk about the civil rights movement, but she was definitely an icon for decades as a source of relief, as a source of comic relief, or she was definitely semi-political in her own way, but she did it differently. She brought humor, and humor is part of that universal language that we can all identify with. We can talk more about that as we move forward. But we have with us several of the women. We have Angel Millian, we have Andrea Sanders, we have Anita Webb, we have Shawnice Chapman, and these are a few of the actors. We're also joining us is Chiquita McCullough, our production manager, and Lucero, who's our technician working behind the scenes, did the editing on the video, and she does so many other things, and we're proud to have her to be a part of it. We also have Michelle Baldwin, another one of our actors who portrays Ella Baker, as well as Queen Mother Moore.
Okay. So let's go in alphabetical order. Let's start with Michelle Baldwin. Michelle, tell us about yourself. You played Ella Baker, Queen Mother, and Mandy. Now there are some individuals that I don't even know that like I know Ella Baker, everybody, but Queen Mother. Tell me about Queen Mother.
I will be on camera in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
I got stuck in some traffic, so give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay,
And while you're getting through, let's talk with Shawnice. Shawnice, you played Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Mom's Mabley. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you felt about playing the characters in this production.
Hi, sorry, I'm a bit in transit a bit. But yeah, I played Mom's Mabley. Actually, she was such an interesting character for me to study. I really enjoyed taking on that role because I don't think many people, well, not in my generation, know that she was also an activist. So at first kind of seeing her represented here, you think, oh, she's the funny lady. But like there are many ways to combat the things that we deal with. And, her approach through humor, I found very interesting and comforting too, because, we as a people, we always laugh through our struggles. We find humor.
May I interrupt you?
Joy is a form of resistance as well.
Let me interrupt you, Shawnice, just for a second, because you mentioned people of just this generation probably don't know too much about the role Mom's Mabley played in the civil rights movement. But I think when I grew up, I only knew Mom's Mabley as a comedian. I didn't know about the work that she played behind the scenes. So this is new for me as well. And I'm not of your generation. I'm much older. So I'm learning something as well.
Funny woman.
Yeah.
But one of the ways we can combat some of the problems that we have here is through humor, because you get people to laugh at the problems that we're having. It still brings awareness to those problems, and you even get the people who are oppressing you to laugh and call awareness to the problems and acknowledge their existence. So the role that she played to me is also vital. It's not all doom and gloom. We laugh through our struggles, yeah, so I really did enjoy learning that about her, and and learning, just even listening to her records and her singing about injustice and using humor as a tool. So that was a really interesting character to play for me. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. And you also played Fannie Lou Hamer and Harriet Tubman.
I did. Oh yeah, those I approached them each kind of differently. I love the perspective of each of these women. Playing Fannie Lou Hamer was pretty intense because, she had such an experience, with everything she went through physically and living to be able to tell the tale and testify about it.
Now, let me also now you're speaking to a Vermont audience, and I have a feeling that most people don't know the characters you're talking about. So let's also introduce. You've already introduced Moms Mabley. Let's talk about Fannie Lou Hamer, and also, well, Harriet Tubman is probably very familiar, but tell me about both of them.
Well, Fannie Lou Hamer was a voting rights activist who, on her return from a convention, the busload she was on was confronted by the police and highway patrolmen and other police, and they carried them off to jail. And they basically put her in a position where they told her they're going to make her pay for being what she was, being in the civil rights movement. And she suffered a tremendous beating. And at some point, they even sat on her feet to stop her from working her feet and basically increase her suffering. But she made it through all that, singing to herself. And she made it through all that. Not only did she survive it, but she went on to testify and continue to be an activist afterwards, testify in court, the Supreme Court, and speak to the entire nation about her experience and everything that she went through. And basically was a great influence to the Democratic Party as we know it today. They wouldn't give her a seat at the table, so she kind of made her own table. But she's a major figure. So getting to get inside of that role, and she was so strong, and she loved to sing also. That's another thing. All of these women that I played love music. Mm-hmm. They all, even Harriet Tubman was musical. She would use song. So, having the music in our struggle, and I know at the end of some of our shows, we often do a musical concert. It's such a vital part, I think, of spreading this message as well. We use music, we use laughter. So yeah, Fannie Lou Hamer, she's a survivor. And, so I kind of tried to put myself in her shoes and relive a little bit of that. But there's such strength in her and vitality in her as a woman. Yeah. So it was great to approach and experience that. And then Harriet Tubman.
Hold on. Before we move from Fannie Lou Hamer, I'd like to interject. Dr. Thomas, we have double casting in the show. Uh-huh. The actress in the film that you're watching that played Ella Baker, her name is Rhea Alexander.
Okay.
Yes. Now, on with us tonight is Michelle Baldwin, who also plays Ella Baker, as well as Queen Mother. Uh-huh. And we also have Andrea Sanders, who's with us tonight, who also plays Fannie Lou Hamer. Ah. We have a show coming up Saturday, and the other ladies, can't be in that show, and so the alternatives are playing. And Rhea couldn't be with us tonight, and so we have Andrea Sanders, and she's also going to talk about Fannie Lou Hamer.
Great.
But before we pivot to her, I want to say this about Fannie Lou Hamer, because her role in the civil rights movement didn't happen directly. She had been living, sharecropping, and living on this semi-plantation-like setting for 18 years. And then when they brought the movement to Ruleville, where she was living at the time, to register to vote. She went down to register to vote. And when word got out, the landlord told her that if she didn't go back down there and withdraw her vote, she would have to leave his property. And she refused to withdraw her vote. And she was sort of forced to leave. And so she left and left her family there, and they would be reunited later. Mm-hmm. But that lit a fire in Fannie Lou Hamer. She eventually joined SNCC, and began traveling all around, and she began telling her story. And that story got more and more interesting the more and more she protested. And as what Shanice was saying about this beating that left her with partial use of one eye, she had already undergone something in the hospital. I'm trying to say exactly when that happened, where it left her sterilized, where she couldn't have children. So also to weigh in on that, we're going to pivot to Andrea Sanders, who's also playing Fannie Lou Hamer. And we do encourage your audience who are listening and hearing these names for the first time to write these names down, and Google these women.
Yeah.
So, Andrea, please weigh in on what you feel about Fannie Lou Hamer and able to portray her as well.
Well, I'm first of all, I'm inspired to play that character specifically because there's something about her that reminds me of the women of my family, and also I was even told by my spiritual mother that I'm just like her. You know, when I was reading off the lines with her, and yeah, my spiritual mother, she helped me. She was helping me through the script. And I love the fact that Fannie Lou Hamer, she has a spirit. She had a spirit of God, and also a spirit to fight for the people, and that that within itself is a good thing. And what I also, well, actually, I like her more than I like the rest of the women that that's on Mothers of the Movement. Yeah, and then she has like this quiet storm about her. She can be quiet, but yet still she has a feistiness to her, and that really reminds me of myself. And I like the fact that the statement that she says, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired," because that's something that usually I'll say, like when I get sick and tired of something. I can say more, but I'm going to give the floor to somebody else.
Okay, Dr. Thomas, we'll yield the floor back to you.
Well,
for your commentary.
And one thing I know we're going to talk about the characters that you're playing, but I can't leave Fannie Lou Hamer without recognizing the very dangerous times in which she lived. And again, I grew up in that era. The '64 Democratic Convention was basically everything from the South were Dixiecrats. They wanted to uphold the segregationist policies and laws of the South. And so she organized, Fannie Lou Hamer organized the Mississippi Freedom something party caucus, and they had this very bold challenge to unseat the Mississippi delegation, and she put up such a fuss that they ended up walking out. The Mississippi Democrats ended up walking out, and basically her representation stayed on to try and represent as much of the party from an oppressed point of view, and so that was a bold initiative which changed the delegation in the '68 '68 convention. So she really did a whole lot to change not only the makeup, the demographics of the Democratic caucus, Democratic Party. She was a bold mover, and so very little is said about her, but she is a person that needs to be remembered and focused upon. So I'm glad attention was made to her. She is certainly an unsung hero.
Let me
Go ahead.
I was going to say something.
Go ahead.
Few people know that Fannie Lou Hamer was scheduled to speak at the March on Washington.
Oh.
And And looking back now, having her testimony contrast the dream on that same day, I mean, looking at it now to be able to see, stark contrast to the dream played out in real time with her testimony would have really changed the tone, certainly how we view the I Have a Dream, speech today.
Mm-hmm.
And about that I Have a Dream, which a lot of people don't understand, is that was the tail end of the speech. The after he spoke about the demanding reparations and jobs and economic leveling the economic playing field. After he spoke about all of that, it culminated in the I Have a Dream. But here today, people always want to focus on the dream and not the essence of the dream,
yeah.
and not the foundation of the dream, and without talking about the things that were going to make the dream actually possible for everybody, especially Black people.
Yep.
So Fannie Lou Hamer played a major role in as showing the face of it between what happened with Fannie Lou Hamer and Emmett Till. These are the images that people reflect back on, saying this is the reality that we're living.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Michael. Let's go now to let's see, Anita Webb. Where are you?
Hi.
Hi,
Yes,
Anita.
I'm right here.
Tell us about the character you played, Shirley Chisholm.
Oh, well, she was quite exciting. I think about her as someone with unbelievable courage and determination. I mean, to be a Black woman with the audacity to even think that you can run for president of the United States. And she wasn't kidding either. She was very serious about that role that she was trying to undertake. And she did it with such wit. There was some humor in a lot of the things that she said, but she meant what she said. And I think dealing with the Congress, I watched a few videos of her, and she told a story about once dealing with a congressman who just honestly felt that she had no business being there. And she made sure that he understood in the end, oh yeah, she had a right to be there, she got duly elected, and she was going to claim her space in the U.S. Congress. She wasn't going to let them think that it was just something that didn't really matter. So she's very exciting to play that role. And I want to thank Michael, for the patience and that it takes to, make an attempt to bring forth a character's essence and the story and the message that Michael is wanting the audience to understand. And so it takes a little bit of research, which is always a blessing when you're doing this kind of thing, because you learn so many things that you had no idea that you didn't know.
Yep.
So each time you get to play a character, you get to grow a little bit.
That's right. Now, Shirley Chisholm was not only the first Black woman to be nominated for president and to run for president in the Democratic Party. She was the first woman in the Democratic Party to run for president. And I think Julian Bond was her vice president, to running mate. So that was, and another thing that impressed me about Shirley Chisholm is that I think she came into Congress in 1968. And that was still part of President Johnson's first term. And Johnson had passed the Civil Rights Bill. He had initiated the passing of the Voting Rights Bill, And after all of that, it angered the hell out of the Southern Dixiecrats. And I think the majority of them started moving to the Republican Party as a result of that. And so the Democrats were still strongly focused in the South. And she had to face, as a Democrat, she had to face that prejudice, that discrimination. And I think as a result of her bold initiatives, buffered by the actions that Johnson had made with the civil rights, the voting rights, and the great society that he envisioned, which he scrapped because of the Vietnam War. She was paving some new ground within the Democratic Party. So she is a brave woman that one should never forget. Thank you for playing her part.
Oh, thank you.
Let's go on to Angel Million.
Hello there.
Hello, Angel. And
hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. So good to see you. So good to have you a part of this program. You played played Mamie Till Mobley. I'm sure that wasn't an easy part to play.
Not at all. That was a very, that was my first acting role, actually, with Michael, along with playing a slave girl named Sarah. Mm-hmm. So walking into acting for the first time 2 years ago when I started working with Shades of Truth and Michael, to take on Mamie Till, I had no idea how tough it would be. I mean, I knew the story. I understood, the story from a very aesthetic part. But when I started to study the role, I think I cried a month before I could even figure out how I was going to play the role, because it is so deeply, horrifically heartbreaking until you can't act that part. You have to become it to do it, in my opinion, to do it real justice. I mean, of course, any role you want to become the character, but especially a role like this, where a woman has had to face probably one of the most cryptic, horrific realities, that your child has not just been murdered, but how your child has been murdered, and what kind of fire, what kind of power, what kind of resilience is that going to take for you in a day like that this happened, for her to stand up against I'm sure she felt like the whole world, to stand up against them and say, enough, like Andrea said, enough is enough, and I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sure that had to be, somewhat of the mindset. And of course, once you take someone's child and you do what they did to Emmett, I don't think there's anything left but a mother bear to come and to go up against all that she felt she needed to go up against, because it was happening all over the country. So now finally she's at that place where I have to stand up. And that role, she was just simply, when I think about her, she was just simply amazing in how she did it, with the class, with the grace, with the style, well spoken, well thought out, and she fought to the end. So playing Mamie, for me, has grown me. It has changed me in so many ways. I have a whole level of a different view of Black history. I thought I knew Black history until I came to Shades of Truth. I realized I knew really nothing.
Thank you, Angel.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I should also let viewers know, if you have any questions, please feel free to call in, and we will access you to the actors and the producers and the director and the writer. So you can ask questions of them. And so please feel free to call in as soon as you wish. I'm wondering, and this is a question I'm asking of everyone, Chiquita, I'm glad you're on because I want all of you to chime in here. We're living in a time when Black history is once again trying to be erased from the curriculum, not just high school curriculums, which it had very little presence anyway, but from American history. And so tell me your thoughts about that and how Shades of Truth attempts to try and reclaim or reassert or more assertively present Black history and the important characters who made up Black history in this very suppressed time in American history.
Okay, while we're waiting on Chiquita, you have to unmute.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think, Dr. Thomas, I would have to go back to a period in time in my life when I was working with young people. And basically anything that I encouraged them to do was to know who they were and who their family were and the life experiences that they have had, just being around their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles. Someone said to me a long time ago that the first teacher of a child is their family, is their mother, their father, not their teacher, but their mother or their father. So I revert back to that and I say that each and every child that's on the face of this earth at the present time needs to sit down and have nice long conversations with their family members. I'm sure that their grandparents might love to have a conversation about what happened in 1960 or 1950 or 1980. That's history for young people today. Anyone who's a teenager, they haven't had those kind of conversations with their family. And that's where we need to start. We need to start with families sitting down, having conversations with children about what their families, their fathers, their uncles, their grandfathers, their fathers, their whoever can share, information that they can share. We've got a lot of Vietnam vets. We've got a lot of World War II vets. We've got Korean War vets. Some of them are still alive.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they could fill their young people up with a lot of information that they don't have to worry about whether they will get it in a classroom, because in all likelihood, they won't. But they will get it from their family. Mm-hmm. And it's key that we have those kind of conversations with our young people, that they know the real history and not the one that was put in a book and not the one that was in any way altered to give information that may not be that accurate.
Mm. Thank you, Chiquita.
I'd like to weigh in too. Let me add in, Dr. Thomas. So yes, when you talk about where it's not that they're not written in books, it's that the books that they're written in are not in the schools.
That's right. They're
not directed and be able to access those books. I have over 1,000 books in my collection because I know people are getting rid of books. The value of books is diminishing, but not over here. As long as there's Shades of Truth, there will be books. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to go back to Emmett Till for a minute, because everybody of a certain age has their Emmett Till moment. A lot of the icons that became pillars in the civil rights movement can recall, the impact that the death of Emmett Till had on them. Rosa Parks would often say that it was, thoughts of Emmett Till that helped foment her, foray into the movement, into taking a more active role. Emmett Till was not the first young black boy to be lynched, killed in the South. He was not the first, but his was the death that everybody had to look at the same time in real time and say, yes, this is not imagination. This is happening. It's happening right now.
Yep.
And it happened to a young man. Everybody has met children that are just so bright, so full of life. And Emmett was that child. I mean, everybody has a child among their nieces and nephews that, wow, there's something special about this kid right here. And if something happened to that kid, and Emmett became that kid for the entire country.
Yeah.
And so this is how I first met Emmett Till. It wasn't when he was actually, murdered. It was when they reprinted the article and in Jet magazine. I think it was either 1972 or 75, somewhere around there. And I just happened to come across this magazine with Emmett Till's picture on it. And it was the grotesque image of his body after they pulled him, from that Tallahatchie River. And it scared the living daylights out of me.
Yep.
I said, oh my God. And they said, that's Emmett Till. And I was afraid of Emmett Till. I had nightmares about Emmett Till. I didn't even know the story. That image haunted me. And I would not learn the full story of that until many years later.
Yeah.
But for years, just the image of Emmett Till, somebody mentioned that name, it brought back that image, and it scared me to death. And then later on, when I learned what really happened to him, and he was not much older than me, and that had a profound impact on me, that somebody can do that to a kid, an innocent kid. And that woke me up to the world we live in. Yeah. And so that, along with the learning about Dr. King and later on Malcolm X, that became part of the foundation. And I knew that at some point I was going to tell these stories somehow. Yeah. And, so when we started telling the story about Emmett Till, there was a generation of young people that hadn't heard of him. There was no movies about Emmett Till. There were no plays about Emmett Till. And so it's been a part of our repertoire of telling that story. And people say, oh, I can't take it. It's too painful. I said, it's too painful for you to hear it. Think about the person who had to endure it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Emmett Till is very important in our storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you mentioned, the story of Emmett Till is one of thousands of stories in which black people have been victimized and lynched in this country since and actually before its founding as a nation. And so it's that history that black people and brown people and in many ways indigenous people are going to have to face and reconcile themselves with as we process the journey of identifying and emboldening ourselves as citizens of this country. I think is taking a face-to-face look at that grotesque part of our history that will allow us to ultimately embrace the fullness of our history, both the beauty as well as the ugliness that has happened, if we're going to face if America is in fact going to face the fullness of its history. I think by our facing it, America learns to face it as well, because it's basically American history that has been erased and denied by the rest of the country. And we need to continually push it in front of its face so that they can acknowledge that this is part of our history as well. Other thoughts?
Anybody can weigh in.
Hi, it's Anita here.
Hi, Anita.
So, yes, it's a really wonderful question. When you look at society in general and how things have changed and advanced, technology and on those kinds of in those kinds of areas, so that means finding alternative methods to get the history, to keep the history in the forefront. I know I saw that they were tearing down some historical information in Philadelphia, and they were made to put that back. Thank goodness. But I think, like Michael, when you're saying you have the books that you have, well, they might need to be digitized so that the younger generation who is absolutely used to looking at things on computers and accessing things in that manner, have access to that information is important. And I think it coincides with what Shakita had said as far as families, as far as the people who lived it to any real extent on that level are slowly not being available. And so we have to make sure that the ones that they've told it to continue to tell it to the ones that's coming up. But I think what's happening politically is that the people in power are doing the things that bring it to the younger people's attention, because when we say the things that we say and then can show it to them, because it's still happening now, and use those examples to then go on to that and go back into the history and show them how it was not as blatant for so many years, but certainly never changed. Mm. So I think that's important.
Thank you.
One thing about, the comment about the books, I want to get them away from the computer. I want them to be able to have that experience with a book in hand and walking out and sitting in the park or sitting in a room, and just that tangibleness in their hands. That book, that unedited property, mental property that someone spent years or whatever putting together, and just forming a different kind of relationship and how they engage understanding text. So I book you because I tell my students all the time, I say, if you can read, you can write. Your thoughts are your words. Put them on the page, and that's where it begins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about Shades of Truth Theater.
Well, everything we've talked about so far is what Shades of Truth Theater is all about. When I moved to New York in the mid '90s, I came here with the plan. My dream was to do this type of interactive and theater that's steeped in our history, to bring the full spectrum of the Black experience, from the page to the stage, in all of its colors. It was not meant to be one-dimensional. We could cover all genres and still tell the truth of our history, which gets so blighted and overlooked or misinterpreted or rewritten or just unfocused upon. With Hollywood putting out hundreds or thousands of movies year after year and just skating around all of these events that are crucial to understanding the nuance of how this country came together. And when they look around, they see Black people in a certain kind of state, and they wonder, what's up with these people? How do they come to be like this? On one hand, they look good and they got this going on, but overall and collectively, they just can't seem to get it together. And why is that? What is the history of that? And so all of the unsung heroes that are not here to speak for themselves, well, Shades of Truth Theater is here to speak for them in real time. Just because they're dead, because they're not alive today, does not mean their voices don't matter. So we bring these voices from wherever they were and put it right smack in front of you. Say, yes, what I said 100 years ago is still relevant. Mm-hmm. So that's what Shades Truth Theater is all about. Yes, it's entertainment, but it's edutainment, because we can entertain you, you can have a good time, and then learn something. Yeah. And be inspired by these stories. We don't have to make up Wonder Woman and Superman and Batman. We have some real people that did some real stuff. And there's a lot of things that we celebrate that were based on black people. The Lone Ranger was based on Bass Reeves, a real, living black brother, who was bad. He was 6'4", mm-hmm. He could shoot with both hands. He was strong as a bull. And, he could speak several Indian languages. And when somebody helped him, he gave him a silver dollar. He didn't wear a mask, but he was able to take on these different characters, to get his man. And he brought, over 300 men to justice. And so that's his story. He became the Lone Ranger and Tonto, and there are others, many, many stories that languish in the dark and in the corners. So Shades of Truth Theater is not afraid to go into those corners and bring those stories out and get them out there in front of the people. So that's what we're about.
Yeah. It's interesting, Mike. It's interesting. A friend of mine recently called as a result of the American Olympic hockey team winning the tournament against Canada, and wondered if this team was going to be promoted in such a way as to glorify, I guess, not only America, but also, because it was as a white male team, somehow glorify the agenda of Trump. It's strange, because then I was informed by a black friend of mine that, before there was a National Hockey League, there was a Canadian Hockey League that had a black team that actually taught the hockey teams the slap. What is it? The slap puck. So there was a black hockey team before there was before there was a National Hockey League. We don't hear that story. We have to dig, and we have to rely on individuals who were part of an ancestry to acquaint us with that history that would otherwise be erased. So that's just what you have mentioned is just one of many examples in which black folk and people of color and marginalized communities and indigenous communities have to do the research on their own in an environment that will often deny their dignity, deny their presence, deny their importance. And it is by that digging that we come to affirm and know who we really are. So I thank God for Shades of Truth and the work that you're doing. Tell us about other things that are on the agenda for Shades of Truth, other programs that you do besides this wonderful program.
Well, before we do that, we have another actor who's with us and been patient, and her name is Michelle Baldwin, and she plays Ella Baker as well as Queen Mother Moore. So we'll have her weigh in.
I apologize, Michelle.
No apologies needed. None. This is awesome. I do want to say that one of the things I love about the whole Mothers of the Movement program is that we live in a society that, as we saw last year, has forgotten who the backbone of this society is. It's the women. The women that stood behind the men during the civil rights movement, the women who endured all the ugly and tragic and still had to stay strong and keep the family strong. Ella Baker is one of the characters that I played, and she was a strategist, right? And she was behind the scenes, and like in the words that Michael gave that she had said, is it wasn't about doing work in front of everybody for the world to see. They were not the smoke and mirror women. They were women who did the work, who weren't afraid to die, who weren't afraid to sit on a bus and stand up for their rights. And so I just wanted to say that I appreciated this particular lineup, this particular idea of the Mothers of the Movement, and having the various characters share the different things that they've done and that they've contributed to our lives, for us to stand here now, for us to be on this Zoom call now, for us to have our freedoms, for us to have them. And these freedoms are, the crazy thing about it is, in reading and working on the monologues, I was like, okay, but this is happening right now. Okay, but this is happening right now. What the hell? This is, this was yesterday. It just has a different face. It just has a different space, but it's the same thing that's happening now. So it's sad that, that what we're portraying on stage from the past is what we're living now in the future. So that's why it's so important to continue to tell these stories, the stories of these people that either are not known or forgotten because, they want to erase us. They want to get rid of the faces that look like us. So I just wanted to say that I wanted to thank Michael for paying homage to these strong, beautiful Black women. They are trailblazers and just amazing women that survived the struggle. So I just wanted to say that. But yeah, I got the opportunity, the first show that you were watching, to play Audley Moore, Queen Mother, and I really didn't know that anything about her, and just finding out that she's the backbone, one of the founders of the Pan-African movement of bridging everybody and like demanding reparations. That was her thing. She is the mother of the demand for reparations. So it's important to know the words that we speak. Sometimes we talk about things in our lives now, we don't know where those things came from. And so Queen Mother was the mother of the people, the movement, and she took that role very seriously. And so I appreciated the opportunity to be able to speak her words and to know her history and have a glimpse into her life. Same thing with Ella Baker. Again, behind the scenes, this is a person who was instrumental in SNCC. And again, you don't know, if you learn Black history when you were younger, and then it's not talked about. And then we focus a lot on the mainstream, Malcolm X. Everybody knows Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and blah, blah, blah. But there's so many more important figures that made it possible for us to be here. And Ella was one of them, and Audley, Queen Mother Moore, was another, along with all the other women in the play. I also get to play Sarah. And Sarah's character is very interesting because she is so nothing like me. Mandy. I'm sorry, I play Mandy. I'm sorry. Mandy is nothing like Michelle. Mandy is that slave that's like, listen, I'm not trying to die. I will stay on this plantation till I die, and with my cheering, and it's all good. So it took a lot of work for me. Michael's like, Michelle, lose yourself, the control. You're like a control person. You're this, that, and you're strong. Mandy ain't that girl. So it's, that's one of the fun things about being an actor, is that we get to, leave ourselves at the back door and put on the coat to portray another person's life without judgment, to honor that character without judgment. So these three characters are vastly different. Mandy, I'm just going to settle and do whatever. Mother Moore, just that mother figure, that grandmother that we all had in our lives, that strong Black bone. grandmother, Ella, take no shit. I'm a black nationalist. I don't care. Listen, somebody got to die. If the movement's going to move and we got to die, we got to die. So I appreciate having three vastly different characters to portray and also share with the audience their lives, their stories, and hope that they are not just inspired, but want to go home and learn more and how they can, contribute to society, because we are in a space now where our livelihood and our being as humans, it's being attacked.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Being attacked.
Yeah.
If I could jump in real quick, if it's okay.
Sure can.
May
Yes.
I just have a quick, just want to add something to a question you asked a little bit earlier about, you were asking about Shades of Truth and, what is it like working with Shades of Truth, or what is Shades of Truth really about? One thing I can tell you, coming to work with Shades of Truth, Michael, Shakita, and Shanice, who's one of the most wonderful actresses. I feel very honored to have had the opportunity to work with these guys and learn and grow as an actress, and being taught directly, indirectly, in so many ways. These people Shades of Truth is just like an amazing group of family-oriented people who are not just about saying that they're here for you. They really are here for you. And I'm talking when it rains and it's pouring, they're right there in the rain trying to help you get an umbrella over your head. And, it has to be said that Michael and his team is not a bunch of words, and they're not a bunch of show. They are the real deal, baby. And then the other thing is that I love about Shades of Truth, and really about Michael and everybody involved, they're so open to ideas. I'm a big idea kind of a girl. I have all these great ideas about songs, writing songs, adding amazing choreography and this and that. And, Michael will never say no, but he'll say, we'll see. Let's see what you do with this. He'll give you some leeway to play, to see if you're going to do the work. And if you do the work, or if the work is really good, I can promise you that him and Shakita and Shanice, they're quick to let you know that, hey, this works, or this, let's try this versus that. And they come up with good ideas to go back and forth like a tennis match. And it's wonderful because it electrifies you. He knows how to excite you, and his knowledge is so vast about Black history, but not just Black history, just psychologically about people. Yeah. And how people think, how people feel. He understands Harlem. He understands the community, but he understands what is needed. And being able to go into the libraries, the churches, the schools, the parks. I mean, Michael goes everywhere. If you give this man a platform, I don't care what it is. They could be right in front of the grocery store in the parking lot, and he can turn that thing out. And people always leave feeling uplifted, and they always feel like, oh, I want to know more. So, everything Michelle has said, and everything all the ladies have said, when it comes to Shades of Truth, that name fits it very well, because it's a bunch of different shades, colors, feelings, vibrations, and energies flowing in different color spectrums all over. And I am excited that he's on this program right now, and his work. I mean, when you asked earlier, what else is Shades of Truth doing other than Mothers of the Movement? The 39 steps, I haven't had a chance to see it, but you can't imagine how people are going nuts over that. And then the meeting. So, I mean, he's doing amazing things, and this company is definitely one to keep an eye on, bringing great Black, stories to the forefront. And I'm excited for his first film when he's ready to do 39 Steps as a movie.
Well,
gotta do it. You gotta do it.
Well, I want to thank you all for blessing us with your presence and this production. I first got to know Michael when I was serving as a minister at Riverside Church in New York City. And that's how I got to know him, and also Shades of Truth. And ever since I was introduced to Shades of Truth, I wanted to make sure that wherever I go, the people around me will know what Shades of Truth is all about. And so I want to
Awesome.
continue. I want to continue to do that and applaud the work that you're doing. And thank you so much for being a part of this program today. Before we go, I want to also alert our viewers that our next program will be hopefully the second Tuesday in March. The first Tuesday is Town Meeting Day, I believe. And so Town Meeting Day, by the way, is a day in which all the towns vote on important issues within their community. And so it's an important day within Vermont. And it happens all over Vermont in different communities addressing different issues. It's called Town Meeting Day. So we try not to do anything as far as broadcasting from here on that day. But on the second Tuesday, I hope, and this is a big hope, that we will have transgender students making their, sharing their experience of what it's like to be a transgender student in Vermont public schools. And in April, we'll do the same with black students here in this state, what it's like to be a black student in the second whitest state in the Union. So we hope that you will join us. And in the meantime, I ask you to be kind, be bold, be brave, and be blessed. Thanks again for joining us, and good night.
Let's talk about our hopes and dreams. Beyond the reach it seems. Let's talk. Confess I live in hell. I failed to fall in scheme. Maybe we can find a pathway forward or a clue. So we may together be a symbiotic harmony where I can talk to you. You can talk to me. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk, let's talk, let's talk.
Yeah, I didn't forget